Right, this is a glorious morning and it's time to speak about a constitutional theory. What is constitutional theory? Why it is important? Well, it is important because in our day, I think the biggest problem for politics is that we have this kind of impatience with the procedure when it comes to political process. What people want more and more in different countries is to have a strong leader who will just decide and execute. Decide, execute. We have obviously that on steroids with Trump, who wants to change the balance of power in America so that the executive branch becomes the overriding branch. And it is connected, of course, to the culture which is being changed. And if you like, I think the best metaphor to describe it is that we have the flattening of competence, of expertise, not in the terms of we no longer have great experts, we still do, we just don't want to listen to them. That's what was problematic. Now, because of that flattening of communicative landscape, what's happening is that we no longer think that we as citizens, it's better for us to be represented through these procedures by the people who know better, because we no longer think that anyone knows better. We all kind of, I'm over generalizing, but as a culture, we more and more think that no one knows really better than anyone else, and what matters is the general will of the people, and it has to be honored. And the only way to honor it is to have this strong leader who will just, without any regard, or with small regard, to the parliamentary procedure, to the judiciary, will just execute, implement people's will. And so what we have is the identification, or if you like, a confusion of the will of the government and the will of the people. They should not be confused. There has to be a difference, because people still don't know what they really want. They don't know their real need. It has to be articulated, it has to be debated, it has to be discussed. And so the thing which maintains this distance is the Constitution, and the constitutional process which is attended upon Constitution. And my belief is that we have to rediscover the Constitution, the beauty of it. We have to be constitutional patriots, as Habermas used to say. Now, well, how to do that, considering the flattening of our culture and our disregard, our blatant disregard towards the institutions? Good question. My proposal is to think about religion as that which is capable of kind of staging the attentional landscape in a way that will allow people to reappreciate the constitutional process, the constitutional mediation. Let me explain. It's actually very simple. So the constitutional theory is about telling a story. And the story is very simple. You have the government, the power, it has to be legitimated. So you have to tell a story of why it is legitimate. In the past, you always had the story that, well, there is God and you all know God. God is great and God is obviously the ultimate authority. And God sanctions the authority of the king. So the king, therefore, has the right to rule it over his subjects, who are us, right, the citizens. Well, that changed in Europe when we have got another idea. And the idea is that well, the authority resides with the people, and the people transfer this authority to the ruler, or the rulers, the parliament, or the king, or the president. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the constitutional delegation of power. But then this authority gives the power back to the people, and so you have transfer of power. People elect someone new again and again and again. That's the constitutional process. Now this is no longer working. This is no longer working. And I just wanted to, in my work, to give it a second chance, if you like, by using the force in society which is in ascendancy, if you like, which is, as I said, religion. So why? Because I argue that this constitutional theory, that the power resides with the people, but the way in which the people exercise this power is through delegating it to the government, and then being in such relations with this government where the people and the government kind of graciously bestow this power back on one another. So that's constitutional theory is actually grounded in the Trinity, in the Christian doctrine of, well, God, where you have the same idea. The Father, the constituent power, bestows authority upon the Son, the constituted power, but the Son then, actually, together with creation, together with humanity, sacrifices this power back, sacrifices himself back to the constituent power of the Father. And this process of restitution or the process of the relationships, constitutional relationships, is the Spirit. So this obviously rhymes. And in my work, I show how this identification, how the possibility of this identification between the people and the source of authority is grounded in the way in which in Christianity you have this coincidence between the people and God the Father. Because Jesus is the Son of God and the Son of Man. He is, if you like, constituted both by the people and by the Father. But as I said, of course, the will of the people is often mistaken. The people doesn't know what it really needs, doesn't know that it needs the communion with one another. And so people can only know what they really want, or if you like, people can actually be people only when they are within the sacrifice which he, JC, gives to the Father. So what you see in Christianity or in Christ is this coincidence where the will of the people is educated to be good enough to conform to the will of the Father. And so only in that case they can be granted this authority of being the constituent source of power. And I just think that what this religious framework tells us is that, well, yes, people can be the source of power, but only if they are represented. Ergo, therefore, the representational system, the liberal democracy, representative democracy, is legitimate from this perspective. And the good thing about this approach, I think, is that, well, it's just fun. So it can kind of gives people restore some interest in it because of the religious imagery. So